Okay, so I've seen some videos that are really, really mean, really hateful and mean towards gay people in general. And there's a lot of hate that is spewed all across social media, that's spewed towards people who look different, act different, or don't have the same beliefs in general. But I think a lot of that is misdirected anger and frustration. Now, I do believe, I will be honest with you, that I believe that some people are different. And some of that is not in their control, as people would like to think it is. Some people are gay, but I do also, I want to extend that I believe that there are a lot of things in the foods that we eat, there are a lot of things in the products that we buy that could alter possibly the growth of children. And it could also mess with people's hormones. And so I wanted to bring out this article. It was back in 2008, and it was entitled Gender Bending Chemicals That Are Turning Men and Animals Feminine. And so I also wanted to bring out another article as well by a right-wing commentator, E.W. Jackson. And I believe a lot of these hate-fueled videos come from out of him and this group. So this is out of the Daily Mail, and it's called Gender Bending Chemicals Putting Our Future at Risk. And so it goes on to say that there's a soaring number of gender bending chemicals in the environment that has a disturbing fertility implication for humans and wildlife, scientists are warning. And so I do believe that this is possible. This is truth. They say that the wild animals are being feminized by a host of common man-made pollutants. I don't just believe that there's a feminization as well. I believe there's illnesses, there's sicknesses, there's cancers, there's things that happen to people's body, deformities that happen to birth, to kids that are born with these birth defects because of the chemicals and pollutants in the air and in the oceans that are being put in there by man-made pollutants, chemicals. This is what I do believe. And I do believe it has the ability to mess with people's hormones as well, and a lot of other things. So it mimics the female sex hormone estrogen and escapes, which is estrogen. They put estrogen, but it's actually estrogen. So it escapes into the seas, rivers, and the earth, and the air, and the waste, and when the waste is disposed of. And so this is a baby fetus pictured here. And so the new life, but males face a threat. And so I believe it doesn't just affect, I'm going to extend it, it doesn't just affect males, it can also affect females as well. And so the focus here is on the male population. So the chemicals found in food packaging and cleaning products and plastics, sewage, and paint cause genital deformities, reduced sperm count, and even turn males into females. So dozens of species, including polar bears, fish, bald eagles, otters, and whales, are suffering, according to the environmental group ChemTrust. So there's a chemical group called ChemTrust that is involved here. So it's reported, a report looked only, or ChemTrust is actually, they're suffering according to the environmental group ChemTrust. So they've actually done their study on this. So it reports The report looked only at the impact of gender bending chemicals in the wildlife. So I guess they extended it and they said all vertebrates, which are creatures with a backbone, that would include us, we're mammals, have similar sex hormone receptors in their bodies. So therefore, observations in one species may serve to highlight pollution issues of concern for other vertebrates, including humans, the report states. So its author, Gwen Lyons, a former government advisor of chemical pollutants, said, urgent action is needed to control gender bending chemicals, and more resources are needed for monitoring the wildlife pollution population crash. It will a real threat to animal population in the long term. So some studies have shown that the sperm counts of the West in the West have fallen over the past 30 years. So others have shown a rise in boys born with genital deformities. Okay, so I do believe that some people are born with genital birth defects, you know, and that can, you know, maybe they have less of some testosterone, a lot less testosterone, more estrogen. I do believe it's more a chemical imbalance for some, and it's not something that was controlled. So there is a fact that people were born the way they are because of these issues. And so that's where they get, we were born this way. And so they're who they are, and you have to accept them for who they are, and don't blame the people for suffering for what was something that is not in their control, if it happens to be this as the culprit, which it states that there's a lot of pollution in the air, there's a lot of pollution in the environment, and it can mess with people's hormones. Things we eat, even out of the grocery store, there's things they inject in fruits and vegetables to make them brighter. And even if you go back to reading about the whole movement behind Cesar Chavez, and I know people are saying I'm really going back, but in the movement that Cesar Chavez had, his workers protested against the pollutants, and they were putting pollutants in the grapes, no uvas, meaning no grapes. And so they wouldn't buy the grapes. It's like boycotting the sale of grapes, because they not only were paying them a little bit of nothing and making them work pregnant and who had babies with birth defects because of the pollutants, the things they were spraying and the chemicals they were putting on the grapes. And so this is the kind of stuff that I will 100%, or I say, well, 90 to 95%, agree that this is some of what has caused some of the issues that some people are seeing that we're dealing with here. Now, some may reject this issue, but I really believe that it has to do with more chemical imbalances. Just think of, you know, and it doesn't have to doesn't mean that everybody's going to like turn, you know, feminine. But what I'm saying is you have this issue with autism in a lot of boys, and a lot of Black boys that have autism. You also have the things, the foods we're eating. You're seeing that some of the products that they're putting in some of the local neighborhoods are dangerous. I did a thing about Johnson and Johnson's baby powder, how all throughout many decades, people have used that in their household. It has caused mesothelioma, for people to die of cancers and all kinds of issues, organ failure, because of putting that product on. They're thinking they're taking a bath and cleaning themselves, and they're practicing cleanly hygiene, and they're getting diseases behind this. So yes, this is very true. You can't blame clothes and earrings like E.W. Jackson does. And the only thing I do think is probably promoted is in Hollywood. They'll have certain guys wear maybe feminine clothing. But a lot of times when you see this, they're comedians, they're playing character roles, and that may not sit well with everybody. But historically, if anybody has lived as long as I have, hadn't you seen Flip Wilson? He's a male, he's a man, and he's played female characters. There's been a whole host of other people that have done it. Robin Williams, he played in Mrs. Doubtfire, and it was comical. Everybody loved it. But they didn't say, oh, now he's gay because he played Mrs. Doubtfire. So some of the stuff is conspiracy, where they put in that stuff on these videos that, oh, they're making the guys wear earrings, they're doing this in Hollywood. The only thing that I do see is that they push hard on the LGBTQ issues, but that's only because they've had so many laws put against them. It's ridiculous. And so if you really look at this article, here it says that some studies have shown that the sperm counts in the West have fallen over the past 30 years. So otherwise, they've shown a rise in boys born with genital deformities. This is something that isn't even in their control. So communities heavily polluted with hormone disrupting chemicals like Russia, Canada, and Italy have produced twice as many girls as boys. And the Kim Trust reports draws on more than 250 scientific studies from around the world to look at the effects of hormone disrupting chemicals, okay, including bisphenol A used in the linings of food cans, plastic bottles, dental sealants, phthalates added to plastics such as PVC and glues. Males of the species from each of the main classes of vertebrate animals, including bony fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals, have been affected by the chemicals in the environment. That's what the reports say. So feminization of the males of numerous vertebrate species is now a widespread occurrence. So fish have been badly hit by the man-made gender-bending chemicals. In one study, half the male fish in the British lowland rivers had signs of being feminized, including the development of eggs in their testes. So some male roach changed sex completely after exposure to estrogen from the contraceptive pill pouring out of the sewage works. So people throw their medicines and things into the toilet and flush them down. Where does that go? Where does it go? Ask yourself that question. Ask yourself the question and answer it. It goes in the toilet and then goes to where? Out into the ocean and probably into the filtration system. And like I said, I did something where it was on musclefish, shellfish, where traces of the opioid drug is in there. So guess what? Traces of these hormonal drugs are also in the foods that we eat. So people eat seafood, things that are in the soil, that are plant foods that grow out of the soil. All these things end up coming back to us in some form or fashion. And so the birds sang longer and more skillful. Now this, it says female songs. So and I guess that was saying that they more seem like they're more feminized. But a study that at Cardiff University found that the brains of male starlings at the sewage plant were altered by the diet of worm contaminated with female hormones. Okay, University of Florida study revealed that 40% of the male canine toads had become hermaphrodites. Okay, anybody doesn't know what hermaphrodites, look it up. These are things that are not in the control, okay, of these people. So you cannot kill them. You cannot be mad at them. You can't go out and make these laws against people who it's not in their control. So Elsewhere in Florida, male snapping turtles have been found with female characteristics, while male alligators have been born with abnormal sexual organs and fertility problems. And this is true. Now, don't you notice we see all kinds of things happening? Like just not long ago, they were saying in spam, they found metals in spam, like the spam that you eat, that you cook for breakfast. They found metals in it. They found lead in baby powder, lead, lead fibers. Okay, so this is evident. You know, all these years, all these people, all the population, all these people, man-made chemicals. Where do they go? When you wash your hair and you rinse it off, you have pills, medicine that's old. They tell you to discard it and throw it out. What do people do? They flush it down the toilet. Or they put it, like in the landfill, those birds, they come and they eat that stuff. And then a lot of those plastic bags, a lot of those plastic bottles, they wind up in the ocean. It's like a big river of plastic. And what's in the chemicals in the plastic, the fish are eating it. The birds, the wildlife is eating that stuff. When you open up those animals, what's inside of them? All the gunk that's in the ocean, and what is in that is what they're consuming. And that, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So I think people are not being honest, and they just want to be hateful and blame people for things that aren't in their control. And here, there's a right-wing watch, and they're very, very LGBTQ, and they just been making laws and trouble is a plot by racist white liberals to emasculate black men. And so this is where some of those videos come from out of. And so this guy right here, I guess his name is Kyle Mantilla. And so he wrote he's a religious right-wing, he's talking about a religious right-wing preacher, E.W. Jackson, who has dedicated a good portion of his radio program to this whole thing of emasculation of black males. And so they try to put Hollywood in there. Okay, look, if people are just bad people and they're doing things, that's that individual doing it. That's that individual doing it. And there may be a ring going on. I do believe there is a ring of pedophilia. There's a ring of people who are doing things because they have a lot of money, they have a lot of power, and they feel like women can't tell on you, can't tell on me. But now we have the Me Too movement thing. But I think some women are kind of jumping on the bandwagon who have not really been, they've not been really violated. Some of the women, and now I'm putting this in there, I believe that some of those women really did go through sexual abuse and had been violated. But then I believe some of the other women who hadn't had anything really done to them are just jumping on the bandwagon because they're trying to get a payout. And so that's my personal view of it. I don't think everybody's lying. I don't think everybody's lying, but I do think there's certain women who they see women who really did suffer, and then they want to jump on the bandwagon. So everybody is not suffering, but some people are. They have gone through a lot. Now, I do believe this is that women have gone through a lot, in terms of Hollywood. To get roles, they might have had to sleep with people. They probably propositioned them. They probably used their money and their power. Well, I own this company, and if you don't do what I say, I just make one phone call and your career is ruined. So we saw that with the Weinstein thing. But this right here, this is where I believe he's not the only one. I think he's just one of many, is where these hate-fueled videos, and this is him pictured here. He has several videos. He's in Right Wing Watch, and he's probably a conservative, but an extreme conservative to the extreme. So he's well noted, and so he's about Christianity and what have you, and he's extreme black right wing person. So he's not the only one. There's probably others that are out there that have these deep seated beliefs, and so that's the reason why. Too, he also has some stuff in there about how he feels. Oh, I think he mentioned Obama, and so I've heard some people say some really hateful things who are actually black. It says E.W. Jackson, demonic Obama has unleashed hell on this country. And this was in 2016 that he did a speech on that. And so I've heard some black people who disliked Obama and they felt like because he approved the gay marriage thing, that I think that had a lot to do with it. But it's just blatant hate. Here you have a scientific explanation as to why you're seeing some of this. Gender bending chemicals putting our future at risk, which they're not only gender bending chemicals, they're also cancer causing chemicals, uh, where it can cause respiratory problems, it could cause organ failure, it can cause you to have cancers of all types. It can, there are things in toothpaste that are cancer causing and they don't tell you. And then there's things that come from other countries and it's like a dumping ground here and they put it in these little stores, and where does it end up? In our communities, and usually the poor communities get all of those products. And what do? We brush our teeth with it, we put it on our skin, put it in our hair. And then if you are a pregnant mother and you're going to have a baby and all of a sudden your baby comes out with autism, so what were you eating? It could be a number of things in the grocery store that contributed to that. It also could be some of the what some people are speculating is some of the things that you inoculate your kids with, which they're not sure, but they did say in an article that I seen that there were MMR shots that they were a little bit questioning. They were questioning that it may had an effect on black boys specifically, and that they kept a lot of information out about that. There might need to be more research on that. But this right here out of the Daily Mail, having to do with the gender bending chemicals, is by a David Dershbisher. And then the other thing, I didn't even read that. I didn't want to read the article because I know it's full of anger. Men wearing earrings is a plot by racist white liberals to emasculate black males. And now the thing is, there are gay people. I don't believe the whole world is gay. I really don't. I don't believe everybody is gay. I'm accepting of people for who they are, whether they're gay or they're straight or they're whatever I'm not gonna, I don't bash people for what their preferences and their choices are, but I do believe that this is not everybody. It's not something that we should be going around, oh, I'm going to kill gay people, I'm going to do this to gay people. I think it's wrong to say that and to do that to people who it's not in their, it wasn't in their control. That's probably why they say we were born this way. Because according to this article, fetuses that are predisposed to these chemicals that are put in the ocean and wildlife is predisposed to it, and fetuses, yeah, there's a chance that they were born that way. A great chance. And so they wanted to refute that. But see, they didn't have this to back it up. And so there are also a whole host of other articles that go on talking about it. Gender bending chemicals found to feminize boys, new scientists. There's manning gender swap requests echoes. Also, prison. I believe prison. I'm going to add this in there outside of the chemicals. I believe when you incarcerate males, and the large number that have been incarcerated have been blacks and Latino males. What do you think is going to happen when they're incarcerated? All those years, no women, all of them are not going to stay straight. And then you have guys in there who automatically they're some of them are gay, some of them aren't, or they end up using as a form of power and to try to control other men. You have survival of the fittest mode in there. And so some guys are going to overpower the ones they feel are weaker, the ones they feel that they can use as mules or dominate. And so they're going to rape them. And so if you have a bunch of guys and they're incarcerated in high numbers and over a period of months, years, or whatever, you can't expect every guy to come out straight. Let's just be honest here. A lot of that I feel was more the plot with black males to ruin their lives, basically. That is what ruined a lot of lives as well. Is when, and then where did that come from? You'd have to go all the way back to where they had the war on drugs and the crack cocaine epidemic. And I know people are going to say, "Oh, that's an old thing." No, it is. It's still, we still have issues with it. But the only thing is now we brought up the issue of the opioid crisis, and that seems to be what lines the website of the Trump administration, because most of the people primarily affected by that are who? Caucasian people. In some of the neighborhoods, they're rural areas, or they're areas that are further out. They're not really urbanized areas. And so those are the things that I honestly do believe. It's that if it's a plot against black males, it was incarcerating as many as you can for a multitude of purposes. Because when you incarcerate a lot of people too, they also have them doing like, and they don't make a lot of money, but in there that's enough for their getting their little snacks or commissary food or whatever, their little snacks, and purchasing the things that they would, can't normally get in there. It's like things that you would cherish, like things that they miss from the outside world. And so, like sodas, things like that, chips, things like that, just leisure, junk food or whatever. And then some like noodles, things like that. But this right here, all this animosity, to put this in here to say that earrings is the cause and white liberals, okay, yeah, maybe there are some white liberals who are racist, but there are some black people who have done things to other black people, such as this one right here. He's saying that there's this plot, but what he's not relaying is that it could possibly be a chemical malfunction. It could possibly be that the person was born a hermaphrodite and they have to choose which gender they want to be, because they were born a particular way. So they come with both male and female parts, or maybe they come with male parts, but they have more estrogen. How did that happen? Well, we're looking at gender bending chemicals. Could have been the culprit. More likely, most likely, is the culprit. And so we also see um, a lot of studies being done. Allies plotted to slip estrogen to Hitler to make him probably less aggressive. Okay, so do you think, just throwing it out here, is that if they could do what they did in Flint by putting ultimatums like we want to save and skimp on money, and so they put the bad water out there so all of the people that are in the area drink it, and it caused all of these problems for these people. You don't think that somebody could put something in the water something else other than what's already chemically, you know, wrong with water, and cause women who are expecting to alter the whether their male child's going to be, you know, come out born healthy, or their female child's going to come out being born healthy. You know, are they going to have missing limbs and arms and legs or what have you? Are they going to be missing something, or are they going to be born with something, an organ that's supposed to be inside of their body, born outside of the body? Is there certain medicines that they are that they're giving the woman to take, certain vitamins, things in the food. Maybe they, you know, maybe she's eating something and it's polluted with something, and it could possibly cause that unborn fetus to come out with these issues. Yes, that's possibly so. And if you really look into it, you'll find that yes, you can't really blame the people who are going through this. You know, this is misdirected anger when you really need to look at, okay, well, who's putting all this pollution in the ocean? They're man-made pollutants. So would you go after the companies like they went after Johnson and Johnson for polluting and lying and collusion in the baby powder, or where they were getting their baby powder from from mines that had a certain chemical that caused cancer in people. And so now you have all these lawsuits behind this, because just now people are realizing this is dangerous and we should never use this product. And so what other products are we finding out that people surprised? You trust, you're looking at the label and you trust that, you know, this is a household product and I'm going to clean my tub with it, or I'm going to wash my dishes with this. And you eat with your utensils and you're using these products on a daily basis, week in and week out, and month in and month out, year in and year out, that somehow whatever chemicals in those products could possibly cause for the health risk that we're seeing actually being revealed in some of these things. It slowly creeps out. You know, that they had the E. coli in the Romanian lettuce. They had the metals that are in spam. You know, how many people go and, you know, there's some people that like to eat spam, you know, for breakfast in the morning. There's salmonella poisoning in the eggs. They do a recall of all of this stuff. But how many people have already bought the stuff and eaten it? And now this stuff is in your body now. You know, and if you're an expecting mother, you've eaten spam or you've eaten something, and that metal or whatever that is, you just ingested it, you've eaten it, and it's going straight to your fetus. So I just thought this was something to one to ponder on again. Um, but with that being said, with the article that I had just looked at, gender bending chemicals is out of the Daily Mail. And this other article, there's right wing articles where they're just really fueled with a lot of anger and rage, where they want to say certain clothing products, you know, or certain clothes, you know, I mean, come on now, get out of here. I used to see guys back in the 80s wearing earrings in their ears, and they were masculine men. They weren't trying to look like females. It was sort of like to, you know, emasculate, you know, to, you know, demasculate them and make them, you know, less manly, you know. So everybody does something different, but this guy, he's on one. But some people may agree with him, I don't. But I do believe that there are chemicals in the ocean that are put in our oceans from all of the things that have been injected in foods, medicines that people throw or seeing. And you can't go around hating and blaming people for things they have no control over. With that being said, thanks for listening. But I want to say this before I go. This is not intended to be hateful towards a gay community because I don't feel like, I'll say this, everybody, I don't feel like they should be killed. I think it's wrong to go around and make these laws against people who don't have a lot of control over a lot of what is going on. And I think it's unfair, but that's my feelings. Feel if there's any culprit to be blamed here is these man-made chemicals that have plagued our oceans, that have gotten into the air, and that we as humans and animals are suffering from the repercussions. And as a result, these are the consequences that we face. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for listening.